Hello, everyone. Thank you to another episode of Hello Again with me, Isabelle Broom. This is my book, Hello Again, so called. Let's not dwell on that completely ridiculous name. It was my idea. I take full responsibility. Anyway, I'm joined today by upcoming debut author Lorraine Brown, who's written a really exciting sounding book called Uncoupling, which we're going to hear all about. And I'm thrilled that she could come and talk to us because I always think it's really, really fascinating to speak to somebody who's right at the beginning of their sort of writing journey, let's say. We're on the X Factor for writers. We're going to be asking you all about your sort of route to publication, where you get your ideas from, how you found your first sort of few months. So do you want to start by telling us who you are and all about your debut novel?
Sure. Hello. Thank you for having me on. I have written my debut novel, Uncoupling, which is out in February next year. And it's about Hannah, who's 30. She's kind of, finds it difficult to find out who she is and what she wants from her life and all of that. And she's kind of struggled a bit and flunked her A-levels and didn't go to uni and is in a job that she hates. And then she meets Si, who kind of has it all together in her mind. And she thinks he's going to be the one to swoop in and save her. And so they live together. They've been together about a year when the book starts, and they are on a night train through Europe, and they're going to a wedding in Amsterdam. It's his sister's wedding. So there's a kind of time element to the story, I suppose. They've got to get to this wedding. Yeah. And then Hannah moves seats in the middle of the night, and the train divides, and she wakes up in Paris, and Si is on his way to Amsterdam, where they're supposed to be. And so she meets somebody in Paris called Leo, who's basically the opposite of everything Si is. He's very Parisian and kind of obnoxious, speaks his mind. And they kind of really hit it off, and they have this kind of instant chemistry, and they begin to talk, and they're really honest with each other in a way that feels unusual. And so by the time she meets Si again, everything's changed, and she feels very conflicted about everything.
Of course, and she's had a Parisian experience, which
yes.
Paris is always an experience. Every time I've ever been there, I've had an experience of some sort. You don't casually go to Paris, do you, and have a casual
No. I feel the same. I was thinking about that this morning. I was thinking, there's been romantic times. There's been times where, upsetting times and arguments and I don't know, all sorts of different things. And it's always something happens.
It's definitely a city that sort of has drama in the air, doesn't it? Maybe it's the French flavour. I don't know.
I don't know.
But it certainly gets under your skin, doesn't it? And it has, because we obviously both write about place, I think a sort of a feeling that a place gives you is something that I'm really interested in, and I like exploring when I write books. And people will say to me, "Oh, why don't you set a book in LA?" and "Well, why don't you set a book in this place or that place?" And I'm like, because I've been there and I just don't feel that need, that sort of compulsion to write about it. I didn't fall in love with it in the right sort of way. Are you in love with Paris? Do you think that's why you chose it?
I think so. I mean, I've been there a few times, and then of course when I started writing the book, that felt like an excuse to go back and do some more research. So I dragged my friend with me just for a day. We only had a day. It's a really short time. And I had to go to all these locations where I set scenes. I think she was kind of fed up by the end of it. And we had time for a really quick lunch and a bit of wine, and then I dragged her off again. And then I went back. I went back again just before Christmas, which was weird because it was there were some strikes, so the metro was not working. There were no buses. It was gridlocked everywhere.
Oh my God!
But still, I mean, in a way, it made me just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And find kind of little bits I'd not seen before, like just amazing squares that I'd never seen before.
Yeah. I think Paris is a great city for walking, actually, because because you have your focal point where the tower is and where the river is. It's quite hard to get lost, and it's quite nice to sort of get lost and wander around all those little sort of back streets and little bars and things. Because the tourist trail is all well and good, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Irony so.
That's what's nice, because in your book I know that Pepper goes to Lisbon, doesn't she? And that feels like another city where it's just nice to wander.
Oh yeah. That's kind of my MO. When I go to a place, I like to pitch up and have breakfast somewhere in the morning, and then pick a point on a map, and I think, well, I'll just make my way there in the best I can and see what I find on the way. I kind of go with a total clean slate. I don't know about you. Did you have a sort of particular idea of where you wanted your characters to go on there? gallivanting around.
Yeah, although I sort of set it very much around Montmartre and the Canal Saint-Martin, which are probably the two areas I know best. But
So
my editors, particularly because I'm working with an American editor as well, and of course they were very much like, oh, we want it to have real, real kind of quintessential Paris in it. We want the Eiffel Tower, we want the Champs-Élysées. So that's why I had to sort of go back again and go to the more touristy places, which I hadn't been to for years. It's actually quite nice.
Yeah, there's a real difference, isn't there, when you're looking at it through an author's lens as opposed to your own. I think you do look for those extra details. You kind of look to get more meaning out, and you get excited by things that you can then write about. So it makes it even more enriching, I think, as an experience. I find it hard to just go on holiday now and just go on holiday, because my brain will always be going, maybe you could write about this place. And the first time I went to Guernsey, I just went for a trip, and it ended up making it into a book because I fell so in love with the place. It's ridiculous. Yeah. But
and then did you go back again once you started writing the book?
I didn't. I journaled. I always journal when I travel, so I had sort of descriptions and things written down and loads of photos. So I just went back into my brain, dove into the vaults, and opened them up, see what was in there, basically. Yeah, I know, it's amazing. So what was it about Paris? Why did you choose Paris?
Well, kind of like we said just now, it just feels like anything could happen there, I suppose. And I kind of love French men, I must say. And so the idea of writing a kind of romance with a French man did sound quite appealing. And this was someone that I knew quite well. So some of the scenes were also set in Amsterdam, which is another city that I know reasonably well. Yeah, which was great. So again, I did a little additional research trip to Amsterdam.
That's terrible.
No, not much research was done, to be honest. I was like quite hungover for quite a lot of it. But anyway, it was, you just get a feel for it, even just going for a couple of nights, don't you? It's just like,
yeah.
And I sort of had to think of the logistics because they were on a train and it separates. That took quite a lot of working out. Like, where could it separate? Where could they end up? What are the timings? I spent ages like trying to work out timings and kept getting in a real muddle with it.
Oh, because of all the time changing and
time changing, and then one train going one way, and then I don't know. It felt a bit confusing, but I think I got there in the end.
You're allowed to change the rules.
Yeah,
it's such I love that idea of being on a train that then separates, and that kind of real visual idea of watching the train disappear with your partner on it when you're stuck away. What gave you that idea? Because that's brilliant.
Well, that actually happened to my brother. So his girlfriend went travelling. I don't know how many years ago, quite a few years ago. They went travelling, and they both are obsessed with sleep. And they couldn't sleep, and they were sort of tossing and turning. And so she got up, my sister-in-law got up and moved carriages, and the train divided, which they didn't realise, and they ended up in completely different Eastern European countries.
Oh my God.
I know. This is the kind of thing that could only happen to them. But somehow they found their way back together. It was all fine.
Yeah.
Everything's good. They've got 3 kids. Everything's good. But I kind of thought, I wonder what would have happened if in that time, you found something out, or your feelings changed, or something, what could happen in that time that you're apart. And I also am obsessed with the film Before Sunrise. I don't know if do you remember that film?
Yes. And then there was a follow-up one, Before Sunset, which wasn't as good.
Wasn't as good, but
more dreamy, I think.
Oh, those two together are just
younger. Oh, yeah, beautiful, isn't it?
I know, lovely. So yeah, that idea of meeting someone on your train just feels romantic in itself, doesn't it? Having that kind of connection, but you're both going places.
Yes, and it's true actually. I think it's only happened to me a handful of times in my life where I've met someone and had a sort of just a short encounter, even, and we've both gone on our way. But it has sort of changed me. Or it's changed the way I see something or the way I feel about something. And it's quite amazing the impact just one meeting can have on you.
I think so.
I love that. I think that's why romantic fiction will always endure, because that spark and that sort of chemistry is what we all sort of explore, isn't it, through our books, or try to, because you try to make sense of it. I never understand why one person will have an effect on you and another won't in the same way. It's very strange. It's nice.
And there's something about being kind of trapped in some sort of public transport. I mean, it's happened to me on a plane where I got chatting to someone, and it wasn't really a romantic thing, but it was like we told each other stuff that, I don't know, probably haven't told many other people. And we were trapped together for 11 hours on this plane. And
Yeah.
it's amazing, isn't it, how that can happen?
I love that. I always think when I fly, it's like suspended time, isn't it? Especially if you're flying across time zones. Because sometimes you land before you took off. So when you're in the air, you're kind of suspended, aren't you? Nothing really matters. It doesn't count. You're just. My mum always says that she thinks flying is really creepy, because she's like, well, it's the idea of, you know, this sort of metal box up in the sky, miles away from anyone on the bottom, you know, with all these people. And she said the idea of it just creeps her out. And I never thought of it like that. Now when I'm in a plane, I always think about that. And I think, oh, yeah, that is quite weird, isn't it? But there are lots of them up there. There's like hundreds of them.
Yeah. I really don't like flying. I hate flying, actually. And I watched a film the other day, I don't know if you've seen it, I think it's on Netflix or Amazon, called 7500.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that.
It's kind of filmed as though it's real, very real, and it's about a plane that gets hijacked, and just the sound of the plane, the noises. It was really kind of intense for someone that doesn't like flying.
Noisy. You know when you're on them and you hear the engine noise and you're like, that's it, I can't hear anything else. It's like, and you're in. And you don't notice it until you notice it, and then it's so loud. You're like, how have I never noticed this noise before?
I know. I'm listening out for every single sound or like clunk or something. Yeah. What's wrong?
Yeah, the left phalange is gone. Maybe would say. Right, we've talked about the research process a little bit. And actually, this is really interesting. I read on your Amazon bio this morning that your background is actually in acting. And I wonder if being an actress has sort of helped you get under the skin of your characters better. You kind of become your characters almost when you're writing them.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I always write in first person. I can't imagine writing any other way. I feel like I have to become those characters. And yeah, something that's really important to me is dialogue as well, because I wanted to make it really realistic. I wanted to make it really flow. I wanted it to feel also just like a slice of life, which was something that when you're an actor, obviously you're trying to do all the time. And quite often I used to get scripts and I would look at them and think, I don't know, the dialogue just felt clunky. I'm like, how am I supposed to say this? And that's probably because, I don't know, I'm not a very good actor. That could also be it, but it just felt difficult sometimes. Like the dialogue just wasn't realistic enough for, you know. So that's something I thought about a lot, and I think that helped. Kind of, I'd sometimes say the dialogue out loud, you know, when I'm writing it, and just see whether it feels real. I guess the process of creating a character is very similar as well. Like you would always have to think about your character's background, like where do they come from, why are they like this, what do they want, what are the obstacles, am I like the character or am I different, and all that kind of thing. It's very much the same process.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I see it as a sort of embodying a character, because a lot of people say to me, oh, you know, is your protagonist based on you? And I'm always like, God, no, because no one wants to read about me, vile, you know. But there's always elements of you that kind of come through in the end, even if it's just anecdotal stuff, or maybe, you know, unless you have a very, very particular set of, you know, my character is very, very right wing or whatever it might be, and then it's so far away from what you are that it's probably really good fun actually writing those characters.
Yeah, maybe.
I really enjoy women writing men that aren't very nice. You know, like the Louise Candishes of the world write these sort of a bit pathetic men that end up in these awful situations. I just love those characters, and they must have so much fun writing them.
Yeah, definitely.
Doing something completely different. But
yeah.
But it is a weird process. It's a very, they do become like real people, don't they? I think that's the only, they have their own sort of agenda almost when you write them. I don't know if you found that.
I do. And I was wondering what it feels like, because I haven't really left those characters behind yet, in terms of, I've only just started thinking about book 2. I haven't really probably started writing it, but I don't know, what's it like when you sort of very much leave a book behind and move on to the next one? Does it feel weird, sad, or?
Yeah, it does actually. And I think there's always a stage where you're really relieved to see the back of it, I think, after all the editing. And you're like, oh, I never want to see that again by the time the copy edit's done, the page proofing. And then publicity comes back round, and I always sort of, you know, read the material again and refresh my myself with the story and everything, because I'm going to be talking about it a lot. And that's when I fall back in love with the story properly and the characters again. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember these characters, and it was so fun to write. And it's almost, I don't know, I sort of hark back to the days of when I was having really fun time writing it as well, as much as I miss the characters. But I always think about them, and I always think, what are they doing? Like when we've had lockdown, I keep thinking about all my past characters, and I'm like, oh, I wonder what they're all doing. They're various places that they're now in, and how they would cope with lockdown. You know, it's quite interesting.
So they don't ever really leave you.
No, they don't. And I think it's the same for any characters and books that you really love, that you sort of have loved for years and years. You keep those characters as well in your head, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
Old
very
friends.
much.
I do like to reread novels over and over again, even though there are too many to. I mean, look, too many. I'm never going to read all those.
It's just a few there.
I'm never going to live to 300. It's ridiculous. So there are loads and loads of highs on the path to becoming an author. Sort of when you secure your agent, when you get that first phone call about an offer, when you see your cover for the first time. And I was just wondering if you could talk us through a bit of that process and some of your highlights along the way.
Yeah, so probably I'd say the biggest highlight was when I got my agent, lovely Hannah. We have the same agent. And because I think that point of getting from writing a book to getting an agent felt like such a struggle and took years, really. So I wrote a book before this and got a tiny bit of interest from an agent, but then tons of rejections. And then I started writing this book, and I won a sort of competition to be mentored by Penguin for a year as part of their Right Now scheme. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yes, amazing.
Yeah, so it's a scheme they have to kind of launch the careers of authors from underrepresented communities. And that was quite a process and quite exciting. And I kind of ended up being one of 11 to be chosen to be mentored for a year, which was great. And then I kind of got to the end of that and started submitting to agents with this book. And again, something wasn't quite working. I was getting lots of rejections or not hearing back from agents at all. Even though I sort of had that connection with Penguin, you know, even though I had that sort of extra little bit on top, which you know, lots of authors don't have, and that didn't happen. And then I suppose it just kind of layered things, and I kept going back and rejigging it and re-editing. And I went to some festivals last year. I went to a festival in Winchester, an RNA conference, and I went to the London Book Fair and had one-on-ones there. And that's when it kind of started building, I suppose. I kind of took all their feedback on board and kept rejigging. But, you know, it took a long time and a lot of rejection. And so when I finally got an email from Hannah, I was actually on holiday last year. I was lying by the pool.
Amazing.
Just reading, and as you do, with a cocktail, whatever. And then I sort of glanced at my phone and saw I had this email from Hannah, and I thought, oh, it's probably a rejection. I'm not going to read it. Because it's going to ruin my holiday, or ruin my day, or whatever. So I didn't read it till that evening. And I read it, and it was actually, you know, she said, oh, I'm really loving the book. I'd love to meet you. And I was thinking, this is exciting, but probably she's going to meet me and say, it needs a lot of work. Go away and, you know, do this, and then I'll be happy to look at it again. And so when I met her and she actually said that she'd like to represent me, it felt kind of shocking and very, very exciting.
That's amazing. Did you do that? Yeah. Did you do a really like me?
Yeah, I did.
But really though, really, there was a lot of that. Yeah. She did the exact same thing to me. She did exactly the same thing.
Seriously?
Email, I'm really liking the book. Shall we meet to chat? And I thought, oh no, she's just going to let me down gently. That's what I thought. I walked in there just so nervous, like feeling sick, being like, and I said to her, just spit it out, because I'd rather know at the beginning of the conversation. She was like, what? Well, obviously I want to represent you. I was like, what? What? Why did you tell me this?
No.
She loves it, torturing us.
Yes. And then it will happen really quickly after that, in terms of she wanted to send it out to publishers really quickly. So I didn't really have time to, I suppose, just like enjoy just having an agent and being like, yes. Yeah. It then quickly went on to the next thing. And that was weird, because at the time I was working as a school secretary part-time, which is, I don't know, it's a kind of job where you're sort of sitting at a desk and you've got people ringing all the time and buzzing on the door and kids coming in and all of this. And then whilst that was all going on, I was getting these emails sort of updating me about, I don't know, offers and publishing deals and foreign rights, and I was like, oh my god. And so I was trying to buzz in parents who were picking their kids up from chess club or whatever, buzzing them in and just like reading these emails thinking, wow, oh my god, like hyperventilating at my desk. That felt like two very different worlds, I suppose.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? And it's but it's so, I mean, when you want to be an author and you want to be published, that's the dream scenario, and it does feel like that when all that's coming through, and it does like completely spins you out, because it happens so fast, like you say. And everybody says the same thing, don't they? It's like nothing, everything, just like that. And
you don't really think about,
you have to make all these life-changing decisions really quickly.
Yeah, decisions. I'm not very good at making decisions. There's a lot of decisions to be made, aren't there? Which feels very scary.
I had to make a very big decision. I won't say what, just in case someone is watching, but I had to make a really big decision right at the beginning of the journey, and I didn't know what to do. And we had a plastic, one of those 8 balls at Heat magazine, just that we used to have on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
And I just asked the 8 ball in the end, because I was like, I can't decide. I'm just going to ask the Heat 8 ball what to do. And it told me very emphatically. It was very direct. So I was like, okay, that must be the right decision. And it was.
Oh, right. Yeah. I get one of those.
Yeah. Here it is.
Oh, yeah.
That one's a bit crap, though. It's not as good as the one at Heat. That was big leap.
I went through a phase of having like angel cards that I used to use to help me make decisions. Have you?
Oh, I've never heard.
Sort of like, I guess they're kind of like tarot cards, but a kind of softer version, a nicer, softer version. So each day you could either take one and it'll tell you supposedly what might happen that day, or what kind of vibe that day might have, or you can ask it a specific question. I went through a phase of doing that and didn't feel very, I don't know, felt kind of spooky.
I'm gonna get some. I need help in my life. I'll turn to inanimate objects for help. I'm not with that. Definitely. Shall I write today? Another card. And then it keeps going, yes, for God's sake, let's do it. Oh dear. So you've written, we can call it romantic fiction, women's fiction, escapist romantic fiction. I don't know. There's so many kind of, I mean, I hate chick lit. I don't know about you. I just think it's had its day. I
know.
It just makes it feel a little bit, it sounds derogatory, even though it's not.
It really does. I've had so many people saying that to me, you know, when I've told them about the book, and they're like, oh, what kind of book is it? And I'll be, you know, it's a sort of contemporary romance.
Yeah.
Oh, what chick lit kind of thing. And it does feel derogatory. I don't know if they mean it like that or not, but.
Yeah, I always say to people, one day is contemporary romantic fiction, because it's just written by a man. But anyway, that's another whole debate we won't get into.
Yeah, we won't get into that.
But, I was going to ask you, which other authors do you like? Authors that write the same sort of thing, anyway.
So, well, I know everyone's saying it, but of course, I'm obsessed with Sally Rooney and Normal People and the TV show.
Oh yeah. I might have to watch it again.
I know I might watch
happy hours. I want them back.
I know, me too. I might watch it again. Who else do I like? I really like kind of American writers, actually, female American writers like Curtis Sittenfeld. I like Emma Straub. I really love Tracy Chevalier, and I don't really read historicals, but Girl with a Pearl Earring, for example, just feels like the perfect novel to me. Just that kind of quiet tension. Really love that. And I also, I think watch a lot of TV and films for kind of writing inspiration. So like I'm a huge fan of Lena Dunham, and I love Girls. Amazing. Just again, that kind of realistic vibe to it, the dialogue. And I love Fleabag, and I love everything Mindy Kaling does. So yeah, I kind of watch a lot of TV, take inspiration from that too.
And I think TV can really teach you about story and about pace as well. A lot of authors talk about pace and how to get, I think readers even more so now have become even more demanding of a pacey book. You know, they want the sort of slowed down, nice romantic bits, but they also want the book to feel like you're galloping through. And it's quite a big task, really, because you don't want to skim on character development, and you don't want to skim on lovely details if you're setting a book somewhere like Paris. It's so beautiful. But you also want to hold your reader's attention on the page, don't you? It's quite a potent mix of getting it right, getting that balance right. I mean, that's where editors earn their money. But I feel like I'm learning more with each book I write, but that I still, you know, I'm still always trying to keep my chapters shorter. And I don't know, I think TV and film is a really good way of, if anyone watching this is sort of wanting to write a book, of learning those sort of beats that we call them in the industry.
I do. I'm thinking of it in a kind of visual way as well, especially if you're doing kind of escapist fiction set in a beautiful location. Thinking of it, in a kind of filmic way, I suppose.
Yeah,
I find helps me.
and I watch Endeavour. I've been watching it with my mum in lockdown, the whole series of Endeavour, and I'm always like, well, there'll be nothing in that sort of hour-long show that's there by chance. Like, everything's either a red herring on purpose, or that person means something. And that's what you should, I suppose, think about in a book, is that there shouldn't be anything in those chapters that doesn't need to be there, that is surplus to requirements. And sometimes it's quite hard, because I don't know about you, but when you sit down and you have your characters and there's a lot of noise, and you want to sort of bring all these fun other characters in and things like that, and sometimes characters get cold. I mean, I lost 7 characters in my last edit. They're just like gone.
My God.
And but you just have to. Now I think, God, she was so right, because all that was just distracting from what was going on with the central protagonist, and that was what was important. But yeah,
7
lessons to be learned. I know. Well, he was a member of this group, and we won't go into it because it's embarrassingly bad. But 7 is quite a high toll, actually. Can you tell us anything about your new book at all, or is it top secret still? Is it set in a location?
It's set in London.
Ooh.
Not really. I mean, it is a location, but it's also where I live. And I mean, it feels very lockdowny in that it's inspired by my neighbour. So we live in a block of flats, and kind of Art Deco-y block, I suppose. And it's in a really weird shape, like a sort of, I don't know what shape it is, H-type shape. And so you can sort of see into other people's apartments. And there's a girl that lives opposite me, sort of down a bit. And I'm kind of fascinated by her, because she lives alone. She's very young, but there's always all these things going on, like people coming in and out. I can see what she's eating, when she's eating, what she's doing. And it got me thinking about, I'm not a stalker, honestly, but it got me thinking about, what if 2 people are living very close together, opposite each other, next door, and they make these assumptions about each other, but they don't kind of realise that actually what they need is each other. That's the basic premise. But I've literally not even started writing. I've just started planning it, so it feels very up in the air.
You're at the best stage. I think that's the stage. Like the very beginning and the very end, 2 best stages of a book.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole middle bit.
Yeah. Like you have all these grand ideas, and then you start writing the book, and the characters just don't play ball, and you're like, no, I want you. You're supposed to be the best thing ever. Get in the role that I want you in. Yeah. But you're at the best bit. You should be enjoying it, definitely.
Yes, no, I am enjoying it. But yeah, I mean, in a way, setting it in London feels easy, because I don't have to go anywhere to research as such. I wanted to do a book in London anyway, but I think there is an element of not being able to travel, and I know it does kind of for your next book.
Yes, it will happen. I'll get there before the book comes out, so we're fine. Have you got any launch plans for February?
Well, no, because not really. I mean, what even happens at a book launch? And also the idea of standing up and doing any kind of speech.
I hate speeches so much, and I always just say something stupid, or I go bright red and mumble. I don't know why I do it to myself, and I write them beforehand, and I'm like, oh, I'm really happy with this, and then I actually read them out, and it just sounds really stupid, and I'm like, oh. So I basically end up going, oh, you should buy my book, but you probably won't like it, and thanks, like just the worst sales pitch of all time.
Does it feel like you need to get it kind of get the speech done at the very beginning, and then you can relax, like as if you're at a wedding? Like when you're at a wedding and the best man's got to wait.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to do a speech. The thing is, at launches, the speech is always for everyone else. It's always the highlight of the night. So you kind of do it for everyone else, not for you. And it's nice to say thank you to people. That's always really nice. I haven't
But
had.
yeah, we'll see what happens.
I haven't had one, so I think you should have one if such things are permitted.
I know.
Come February, which
Yeah,
I'm
let's
sure they
see.
will be. I'm staying positive on this one. I'm going to think positive. There will be a big party. We'll all be there
Yes.
cheering.
Yes.
There'll be French food, French fancies.
Yes, French fancies, French wine.
French wine.
A very short speech.
Yeah. Some Amsterdam goodies as well.
Yes.
Maybe
That'd
not
be nice.
those things, but
yeah. It'd be lovely to have a launch in Paris. Yeah, not those goodies. Lovely to have it in Paris, wouldn't it? Because, like, I don't know, that'd be amazing. At the Shakespeare and Co bookshop, wasn't it?
Bar could be done up like a train carriage, and you could have all your waiters could dress up as like old school train conductors, and you could have little sliding door things. There probably are like trains that you can hire for such things.
I think there was something in London like that. A sort of 1930s or 40s themed bar with a carriage. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, and everyone could be behind glass partitions, so there wouldn't be any risk of transmitting COVID. It'll be fine. Right, we've reached the stage of the interview where I do my quick fire at the end, rapid fire questions. So I'm going to do a little drum roll. You ready? Okay. I repeat some, but some are new. So we'll go for the standard ones first. So beach holiday or city break?
City break.
City break.
I am obsessed with cities. Yeah. I mean, I like beaches too, but I'm obsessed with cities, and we'll spend, I don't know, just that whole thing of getting a guidebook, flicking through, ticking off restaurants, museums, places you want to go.
Yes. I think you feel more enriched, don't you? I mean, I love a beach, just lying by the sea, reading books and, hanging out basically, and not having to worry about anything. But you feel more rested, but you don't feel as culturally enriched, shall we say?
No, that's it.
Break.
And actually, now I have a little boy, and he's 7, and so beach holidays are not so relaxing, shall we say?
No.
You can't just lie there for 8 hours reading. Oh no, up and down in the water, whatever.
Full game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I suppose you need a bit of both, don't you? That's what I was saying in another interview. I was saying about Barcelona. You get both. You get the city, and then the beach is right there. So that's quite a good city, but it is quite full on. And
actually, LA. I love LA. I know some people don't like it, but that's perfect for kind of city plus beach. I know it's not really a picturesque beach as such, but it's kind of cool.
It's iconic, isn't it, Santa Monica? Yeah. When I was in LA, there's a lot of driving though. You have to drive quite far. From sort of downtown LA to Santa Monica is more than an hour.
It's far. I got the bus when I was there because I was too scared to drive. So I got the bus, which in itself was scary, but
it's so scary driving on those big freeways, I tell you.
I couldn't do it, no way.
I'd never driven in America. I'd never driven an automatic. And I was like, it'll be fine. Just got off an 11-hour flight and just tried to drive through LA in the dark. It was so
brave.
But by the end, I was like cutting people out. I knew it was fun. It's fun. Radio 1 or Radio 2?
Radio 1.
I'm asking this because I've recently converted to Radio 2 after many years of being Radio 1er. And now, no, Radio 2 is more my bag.
What goes on Radio 2? What do they do?
There's a bit more talking, a bit of classic stuff. It feels like a nice, friendly, safe space to listen to. Maybe it's lockdown that's done it to me. I don't know.
Maybe, kind of relaxing. I like to kind of relive my youth on a Saturday afternoon. I drive over to my mum's at the moment while we're in lockdown, and on the way back I listen to Mr. Jam, which is like a sort of dance classics on a Saturday afternoon. And I like to just remember the days when I used to go clubbing or be in Ibiza or whatever. That feels nice.
Have you watched White Lines on Netflix?
Yes, I have.
Oh, that's so reminiscent of like the 90s rave sort of, illegal party era, which I was very much a part of back then.
Yeah.
It made me feel very old, but it also made me feel like joyful watching that. I just loved it. It was brilliant.
Yeah. I know. I can't say my time in Ibiza was quite that eventful, but That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, no, you don't. Your canoes full of, or inflatable boats full of
Yeah.
Class A drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that, thankfully.
I'm sure it goes on. Maybe not. Don't know.
Yeah.
Broadsheets or tabloids?
Oh, actually, I'm not really a newspaper person at all.
Mm.
I am more of a magazine person, I say.
Okay.
So I don't really like, I get really, it sounds a bit pathetic, but very emotionally upset. It's got kind of invested in the news and get really upset by it, I suppose. So I never watch it really. Obviously, it's sometimes on in the background.
Yeah.
And even reading a newspaper, I don't know. I prefer to just catch the headlines or see what's going on social media. So yeah, magazines, kind of glossies or kind of gossipy magazines I like especially American ones, People and Us Weekly, all that kind of stuff.
They're much more
So, yeah.
and they can write whatever they want, whereas the British magazines are, protected by the law, by privacy laws, so they have to be a bit more
I know, and there's pictures of people's kids and all of that, isn't there? Which I don't think you can do here, can you? But
no, a lot of the time you can't. No. I do like local newspapers for ideas for stories, because you get all those sort of little interesting nibs, news in brief. And they're a goldmine for ideas, especially for things like short stories. If you want to write something like a little locally set story, they're an absolute goldmine. But maybe that's because I started my career in local newspapers, so I'm always trying to support the locals. I think they'll probably outlive the big ones. So,
yeah, no, you're right. Whenever I go back to my mum's and I read the local newspaper from where we're from, to Potter's Bar, it's not much happens in Potter's Bar. So yeah, it's quite funny reading those stories, kind of making big features out of something that's not really that interesting, but
yeah, school fates or something.
Yeah.
Like 4-page double spread with cutouts. Amazing. If I was to give you £50,000 right now, no strings, what would you spend it on?
Well, all I can think of right now is going somewhere like that's not London. So like escaping. A nice family holiday, all expenses paid, some city breaks with my friends. I'm obsessed with hotels. I'm always looking at, I don't know, like I look at Condé Nast Traveller, for example. I think, oh yeah, that hotel looks perfect. And then I see it's £500 a night or something. I think that's not going to happen.
So yeah, people can afford it. It's insane.
No. And why is that one room so expensive? A friend of mine just stayed in the Shard for a night recently. It was 500 and something pounds. And you didn't even get breakfast included.
Wow.
I mean, so I'm a bit like, what are you paying for? So yeah, I'd stay in nice hotels. I travel. I really want to go to Japan, somewhere that's really expensive. And that's what I do with it.
Yeah, Japan's high on my list. I feel like it's been creeping up over the last few years, and more of my friends have been. And I think I just need to go, and I think I'll absolutely love it. Maybe that's why I'm putting it off, because then I'll be like, I'm obsessed with Japan. I need to go every year for the next 5 years. That's what happens. I get obsessed with
You'll need £50,000.
Exactly, and I've given it to you now. The final question: what's the strangest thing that's ever happened to you?
Well, this was spooky. So how long ago was this? Maybe about 8 years ago. I went to a psychic fair. And I wasn't really into all that stuff, but my dad had just died. And so I kind of guess I got more interested in the afterlife and like how I could still feel connected to him and all of this. I went to the psychic fair and saw a psychic for the first time ever. I'd always been too scared to do anything like that before. And she was just straight away kind of like, I've got your dad here and this is what he looks like and this is how he died and this is where he died. Like everything was like completely spot on. And then she said, oh, I don't know if I should tell you, but your dad says that you're going to be pregnant by the end of the year. And this was October, so there wasn't much left of that year. You were pregnant by the end of the year and it's going to be a boy and you're going to give him your dad's name as a middle name. Oh my God. So that's October. And I was pregnant by the end of the year and it was a boy.
Oh my God.
How weird is that?
That's insane. That's really strange. That's just giving me goosebumps. I love that kind of thing, And actually that's a really good idea for the beginning of a story, isn't it? Like someone who's really skeptical goes and has this sort of, experience and then all the things start to come true. And then the question is, were they going to come true anyway, or are they coming true because you were told they would come true? Almost. Like
I know.
your brain knows, so it happens. I don't know. Maybe
I think you have to really experience it yourself, don't you? Because everyone, 99% of people I've told this story to are like, well, she's probably guessed that you're, how can someone guess that I'm going to be pregnant in 2 months' time? Or,
yeah.
she's guessed that your dad X, Y, and Z. No, she knew. He was there.
I think I'm not sure whether I believe in spirits or whether I believe that people can read minds. Or maybe it's
no,
a
I'm
bit
not
of both. I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
find it really intriguing. I refuse to like rule it out, definitely. I mean, I've never had anything happen to me, but I know people that have, and I don't think they're lying. Do you know what I mean? So there's got to be something going on.
Something.
And I think we could sort of see spirits all the time, but we just think they're people. We wouldn't know. How would we know the difference?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I like
it.
It's a good way to end the end the interview. But thank you so much for coming and talking to us about what it's like to be a debut and your amazing sounding new book, which you can't hold up because it's so new that there aren't proofs yet.
No, there's no proofs. There's a cover. I've got to print out the cover.
Yes,
Here,
hold it up. Oh, look at that with the train and the Eiffel
Tower. The train, the Eiffel Tower.
That's beautiful.
So it's nice.
It's really exciting. It comes out in February. You can pre-order it now. In the meantime, make sure you follow Lorraine on her social handles, which tell us your Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter is at Lorraine Brown 23. Instagram is at Lorraine Brown Author.
There you go. Make sure you follow her and make sure you pre-order. Well, thank you for
thanks so much.
Again, I hope you enjoyed your tea. My tea has gone cold, but I don't care. It's well worth it. I'll see you next week. Thanks everybody. Bye.